Okay, now we can start. This is my R environment. Now, let's create an R script, a new R script, just the way we do. And I want us to load some packages that we said we are going to use. So let's say load packages. I would like us to load the tidyverse package. Also, the package that I told you about, the R miscellaneous package. Oops. I think those packages are okay. With those packages, I think we can, with those two packages, I think we can work with our data. Now, from there, let us load our data. So just as usual, come to our environment here, just as we are used to. Let's change the name of this data to data frame df. Okay. Just like last time, let's change this into factors, the station into factors. We have first station, second station, third station, and the fourth station. Also the month, let's also turn the months into factors. From the month of May, June, July, August, September, and finally October. Okay, you can see it is this data is in form of a fact. Now it is in factor. Now let's copy from the clipboard, copy there. Let's paste it here. Sorry. And let's we have now imported our data into R. I want us to do some simple visualization. Okay, some simple visualization with this data, and I want us to manipulate this data. I want us to have another set of data. Let us call it df1, and this df data, I want us to do some manipulation. So we manipulate our first data frame, the one that we have loaded. We said, and then I want us to select. Last time we talked about selecting. You come to your data and select the columns or the variables that you want to use. Now in this case, I want only to deal with these are someone's data on physical chemical parameters, but at the end of the data here, as you can see, there are some variables called lattice or chromis. These are fish species, and some copepods. These are invertebrates, aquatic invertebrates. Therefore, I would like us to only work with the physical chemical parameters, which are conductivity, salinity, pH, chlorophyll, and so I don't want us to deal with these ones, with the chromis, all those things. So therefore, I want us to deselect and say we don't want this one. Last time I told you, if you want to select, you just write the name of, if you want to select that column called lattice, just select like that, just write it. Another one was Oriochromis. The other one was Rastri Neobola. The other one was copepods. rotifer. The other one is, let me see, cladocerans and juvenile. Now, if you wanted only to work with these columns, I would have said select. And let me just run it so that you can see what has happened. df1, let's come and say df1. Viewing df1, you see we have only selected these columns, but I don't want to use these columns. I want to exclude these columns from my data. Therefore, what I'll do, you just put a minus before that, the name of that column. Before lattice, put a minus. Before every one of them, because we want to subtract them, to remove them from our data. We don't want to use them. Let's run it again and see how our data looks like. Our df1. As you can see now, it has everything else apart from the ones that you have deselected, the one that you have said minus lattice, minus autochromis, and all those. So we are left with only physicochemical parameters, which include chlorophyll, pH, salinity, of which also I think chlorophyll is not a physicochemical parameter. But it's okay, we are going to use it. Now, after that, after we have selected that, let's say, and then I want us to pivot longer. Remember last time we talked about pivot longer. And I want, which columns do I want to pivot longer? The columns that I want to pivot longer are columns from transparency, the fifth one, up to chlorophyll. I want to put this together. Therefore, it is from the fifth column to the 13th column. So columns 5 to column 13, comma. Now, what is the new word that I want to give those the new variables or the new column of the parameters? I'll say names 2. Names 2 is equals to the name. I want to call them parameters. And the values, I want to values 2 is equals to, I want to call my values just value. Values, just values. Let's see what happens at that step. Let's see how our df1 looks like. You see, we have pivoted longer. The columns that were here, these columns that were here, temperature, DO, conductivity, and all those things, we have condensed them, but made the data now longer. Parameters, values. Okay, we have put those together. Now, the other thing I want us to do, let's say, and then I want us to summarize this data. And then what do you want to do? Let us say summary SE. See, summary SE. What do you want to summarize? Which values do you want to summarize? We want to summarize the values. The values are the ones we want to summarize. The values. Okay. Next thing, what are the grouping variables? What do you want to group them with? We say you put them into concatenate it. And let's group them according to the month and the parameters. So let's group them with month. We have to put it into quotation. Month. And what you're generating here are just summaries. We want our data to be summarized. Okay, we have to put this one into brackets too. Let's see. Yeah, so our DF1, now it has given us a summary of the month, the parameter. It gives the number of months, the number of the parameters. There are 4 of them. And then the months are 4. Then it gives us the mean. These values means the mean. And this is a standard deviation. This is a standard error. And this is a confidence interval. This is mostly used, as you can see here, you see that summary of SE. SE, as you all know, is a standard error. We want to get the standard error or the standard deviation. The standard error is the most important thing because we want to create a box, we want to create bar graphs that have error bars. Error bars. Everyone knows about error bars. Error bars. Now, let's be done with that. Now, I showed you how to read the data into R. As you can see, this data here, we have created a new set of data. Maybe you'd like to have a copy of this data just as it is, so that maybe you can save it or for other purposes or something like that. And to do that, you just write, you want to write to form that data. Say write underscore CSV, and the first thing you want to save the DF1, comma, and what do you want to call it? You put it into brackets. What do you want to call it? Maybe physiochem.csv. Put it into a CSV format and then run it. If you do that and you run it and you come to your environment, you should be able to see that data, and you can see I have saved it here. And if I click it, if I want to import it, you can see I have saved that data that I can use. It's in form of Excel, an Excel sheet. And if I go to my RStudio environment, the place I save my work, I'll find it because I've saved it there. Physiochem, here it is. Here it is, Physiochem. I've just saved that data. I've created a new data set and have saved it into my environment. Now this is another set of data that I can use for other purposes. Having done that, that's one thing I wanted to show you. Okay, just a minute. All right, we have saved that data. Now that was just a by the way. Now that's something you should know. You can write it. Now let's visualize this data. We said the normal way of visualizing is ggplot. Use ggplot. Your data is df1, data frame 1, and your aesthetics of what do you want your x to be? Let our x be the month, and our y be the looking at this data, the data set df1, we have values. So we want our months to be on the x-axis, the independent, and our values to be the y-axis. Values. Let's our y be the values. Okay. And there's something else I want us to do here, but let's first be done with this. Plus geom column. The aesthetics geom column. Let's see what it gives us, what we get. Okay, now these are visualization of all the parameters from May, June, July, August, September, October. Amazingly, it has arranged them according to the way it's supposed to be. Okay, Okay. Now you have done our visualization. Another thing you can do, you can come here and say, after values your X, you say you fill it according to the parameters. The parameters. Remember, the parameters, our parameters are these ones: the chlorophyll, the conductivity, the depth, salinity, TDS, and temperature. If you put the parameters, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Okay. Now we have a stacked bar graph. Stacked bar graphs for each of for one of every of these parameters. Okay. Now instead of using geom call, let us use geom bar. Okay. And in geom bar, under geom bar, here you're forming just a column, a graph bar. Let's say start. We are specifying that our y should be the values and not any other, not things like counts. Start is equals to start. Let's say you say identity. We want to use you to specific the values, not counts. I will explain to you that later. Another thing I want us to do, say position. How do you want to be them to be positioned? This is a stacked bar graph, but you want to make them to be side by side. Let us dodge them. Say dodge. Let's run that, see what happens. You see, now it has given us of every parameter in the different months. Okay, this graph is not very useful, is it? What you can do is another function, we call it facet wrap. Facet wrap. That first, you say facet wrap, then a tilde. After tilde, then what do you want to facet up with? The parameters. We want to facet the parameter so that each parameter is on its own. And there's something else you say scales. I'll explain scales. You say let them be free. Let scales be free. Okay. Let's run that and see what happens. Something is wrong. This is not scales anyway. Scales. Run that. See what happens. You see, if you now maximize this one, if you zoom, let's zoom this and see what has happened. Now we have every value for chlorophyll. You see, it has its own value, its distribution over the month. You can see which month had the highest chlorophyll level or chlorophyll concentration. Then go to conductivity, how the months differed in conductivity. Okay. The depth, the dissolved oxygen, the pH, the salinity. Now you have faceted everything. Now you can see each of the parameters at different angles. And that's how we use the facet wrap.